Julie and I, you'll have seen this, I hope, in an email. We were invited by Gemma Patak to attend the consultation event for the new leisure centre proposed for where Jackson's Landing was and where the Waterside Summer Festival has been held. So the way we're doing this is to make sure that we're as representative as we can be. So this is a part of our feeding back about that workshop, so you're aware of what is happening, and to make sure that if anyone's got any comments or wants to have a say, then you can do so. So the workshop was convened by an architectural company called G23, and we have to say it was incredibly impressively run, and we are going to look into whether we can adopt some of the technology that they used, because at every stage they got the views and feedback from the 23 participants using sophisticated but straightforward a digital technology, so that people's views against all manner of things about the new leisure centre could be recorded. And we're hoping, because we've requested, that Gemma Patak is going to make available all of that material so people can see what was being said and how the leisure centre is being shaped. Now, obviously, Friday's meeting was not the first stage in a process that's been going on for 2 years. So the architects already have their brief. The site is set. It's going to be a largely wet facility with some additional space that the consensus needs to be used flexibly, with a sort of link to the water around that site. So there's a connection between the site and use of the water. And I mean, again, personal observation was that the range of people attending, including our Julie, who's used it as a bairn, as a parent, and as a family, but there were others on the call for whom the same could be said, such as Shane Moore. Fed in their collective experiences about Mill House and about their aspirations for how that could be improved, or must be improved, needs to be improved in the new centre. So for what it's worth, our observations were that it was quite a representative group with a broad range of views expressed, and there was largely a consensus from amongst those present about such things as the design style and the feel of the facility. But there's a long way to go, and as I say, we're hoping that everything that was discovered through the consultation held at the workshop can be made available, so that you have as great an access to the outcome as we did, though the difference being that we were participants in that. So that's the leisure centre. I mean, if you've got any questions or thoughts about that, then maybe as we go round, if you could tag those on to what you have to say, rather than having a big discussion about it now. And if it transpires that there's quite a lot that people want to say, then we'll hold a dedicated sector connector about the new leisure centre. But just reassurance, the accessibility and the sort of social justice aspects were well represented. It was really clear that people recognised that this needed to be as accessible as possible to the whole of Hartlepool's community, both sort of emotionally, if you like, and physically, and in the cost. So anyway, so that's the leisure centre. Now, I'll only mention this because Rebecca is as much involved as I, is that there's work afoot to look at establishing potentially a social prescribing scheme for young people in the town. The Hartlepool Healthy Communities Network held a meeting where we had a presentation from Street Games UK, who've done some pilot projects, 5 pilot projects across the country. And on the strength of that and interest around the table, including from the Hartlepool and Stockton Health HASH, which employs the current social prescribers, there's considerable momentum actually to establish a Hartlepool scheme for, you know, enabling young people to be directed to services across the town that respond to the issues or aspirations that they're bringing. So just to let you know that that work is underway. Rebecca may have more to say about that, well, and others of you may have more to say about that. And then finally, because, well, Julie's got one as well, but because we're not sure whether Julie Collin, the Hartlepool Food Council coordinator, will be able to join us, just to let you know that, I mean, I think Teresa was at this meeting. Do you want to report back on the HAF meeting, Teresa, or shall I give a brief overview? Can't hear you.
I'm happy for you to do it, Julian.
Okay, so, well, Rebecca was there as well, I think. Yeah. Do you want to do it, Rebecca, or do you want me to?
Stop laughing.
So the HAF stands for, oh, what the dickens does it stand for?
Holiday activities.
It is Holiday Activities and Food Programme.
Okay, so Hartlepool Borough Council have been given almost £700,000 by central government to run activities with some food attached over the next 3 main school holidays, Easter, summer and Christmas this year, that at least is used by children who qualify for free school meals. So
Not exclusively.
Not exclusively, but it is designed to ensure that those children get the opportunity to attend activities and get a square meal associated with that. And basically the working group, which I didn't attend, our colleague now, Julie Collin and Rebecca and Teresa did attend. So that work is underway to plan what that programme might look like. And my understanding is that there is now going to be an application process for organisations who wish to deliver some of those activities, that there's now a form or a simple application form that anyone can complete. And as long as certain criteria are met in terms, for example, with respect to safeguarding, and having some experience of delivering activities for children and young people, then you know, people have got every chance of being selected to deliver activities. There is less clarity at this stage about what the food part of that programme will look like, but you know, that's still got to be part of it. So it's an incredible opportunity, but at a scale the likes of which we haven't seen before, because this quantity of funding, this is from the work of Marcus Rashford, basically, that it's this amount. He's embarrassed the government into you know, spending on families in some, you know,
Julian, can I just correct you on that? This programme's actually been running nationally for, I think this is its 3rd year. Hartlepool just hasn't been successful in bidding for it the last 2 years.
Okay.
So yeah, it's
Right.
ran. Street Games have led on it in Newcastle for the last 2 years. Newcastle Gateshead for the last 2 years, very successfully. The programme what they ran literally went right across the city, and was really, really well received. So we are working with Street Games as well to try and feed into our officers what's happened up in Newcastle, for them to kind of look at how we can mirror something like that.
Brilliant. Thanks, Rebecca. So again, if anyone's got any questions or comments about that, if you want to make those when we go round, but it's just to let you know that that's underway, that the voluntary and community sector is well represented on that working group, which is being led by the council's Director of Children's Services, Sally Robinson. So that's good work underway.
Just to reply to Sarah in the comments, a lot of the activities that are currently planned from the local authority is virtual, depending on each service's guidance and what you're allowed to do. So looking at the National Youth Agency's point of view, we can work with vulnerable groups of children from Monday, invited in only. From the 29th of March, you can work with groups of 15 outdoors. So that means Easter, we're allowed to run outdoor sessions safely, following COVID guidelines and things like that. So for the Easter holidays, we should be able to have some actual face-to-face organised activities.
Brilliant, thanks very much.
National Youth Agency webinar is available on, if you look on their Facebook page, there's a link to it, and that gives you all of the information. It was a bit
good as well.
A bit confusing yesterday listening to it, but then looking back on it this morning, once you read through it, actually, it makes a bit more sense.
Oh, fab. Thanks, Rebecca, because Chris had asked me to look at it, but then I was looking at the guidance and it was saying, obviously, it's for at least 4 hours a day, and I was thinking, 4 hours over Zoom is like hard going.
It is, but you can do some outdoor stuff as well. If you even in public spaces, you're allowed to do that. So you're allowed to say a group of young people, meet us at Ward Jackson Park, and you can run an organised activity there.
Oh, amazing. Thanks, Rebecca.
I think
and they're allowed to go and use toilets and things if you're in a building and stuff. But young carers could be classed as vulnerable as well, so you should be able to run some indoor.
Yeah, I know, but this is we've been sort of umming and ahhing about this, because obviously they are, but then because we're sort of council funded, we're sort of going by what the council is saying.
Running on.
Yeah. But I'll have a conversation with Chris, so thank you for that.
Yeah, Chris was on the meeting yesterday as well. Yeah.
Go on, Teresa.
I think if it's classed as a support group as well, and not necessarily vulnerable, but you as the professional gets to say whether that young person is vulnerable or not, and you don't get challenged on that. So if you say they're vulnerable, you don't have to explain the reason, but you as the professional can allow that to be a support group. But Rebecca's right, you've got to invite in. So there is ways around it. If you think a young person needs support, you can invite them in. And I think it's only 2 workers still.
No, there was no limit on staff, so your staff don't count in your numbers if you're 15.
All right, because last time it was 15
last time
plus
they
2.
did. Yeah.
So the 2s.
No, so you could have as many support staff as needed. Obviously, the more you have, the bigger your bubble gets. So you kind of need to then manage your space a bit better if you're going to do it inside.
So it depends how big your room is, basically, if you're doing it inside. Yeah.
Is that link public? Can you send us that?
It's
Rebecca?
the
National Youth Agency.
Just go on the website, Julie. It's good.
Is it featured?
Yeah.
We'll
they've been an amazing resource to our sector throughout this. Their webinars have been so informative, and there'll be formal guidance published later this week, which is actually being signed off by the government's legal team. So it is like fact.
We'll include some information in the notes when we release them for anyone who wants to kind of follow those links and catch up with the webinars. Thank you. Thanks a lot, Rebecca.
Brilliant. Thanks very much indeed, Teresa, Rebecca, Sarah, for clarifying and sorting that for us. And then finally,
can I just add one more thing to that? Sorry. They are going to send out information via schools. Schools have to be heavily involved in this programme, and some schools are even opening up to run activities. I know Rift House are definitely planning on opening up for Easter, and there is others signed up, but not got formal plans in place yet.
I can't remember if I mentioned the numbers, but I think it's at least 6,000 children that are getting free school meals. So it's a huge potential programme. Okay.
5,000, just over 5,100 currently, but it changes daily.
Okay. Thanks, Rebecca. Right. Finally, from us, a few things on funding from Julie.
I've no idea whether that will get in the way of my face, so I'm going to move it along a bit. Two things really. One around funding and fundraising, just to say we've had, we're continuing to have appointments with people who want to talk about, getting some support or looking at different ways of fundraising or wanting some feedback on applications that they're putting through. We've supported a number of networks to kind of work on some joint funding bids that have been quite well received, and we've had some successes over the past few months. So don't sort of struggle in silence sort of thing. If you want any feedback or, to get together and kind of look over something, then do get in touch with us. Last week I went along to I'm probably going to say it wrong, the Chartered Association of Fundraisers regional event, to see if there was any sort of trends and that over the past year, and particularly around digital and things like that. And that was a really interesting couple of days, couple of sessions that I went to, and I'll be compiling some information and kind of getting that out. But some of the highlights of it were around sort of new formats of fundraising. One of them was text given. So if you think about what you see, sort of national charities text water to X, number, and then you can donate £5 or £10 to that charity. And the benefits around it were like that you didn't have to give your bank details. If you think about it, usual digital fundraising processes are around giving actual sort codes and account numbers or your card number and things, whereas text given, it's kind of linked into your phone bill. There can be a follow-up form that involves, if you want to, I've lost what I mean, when you give that gift aid on top of that. But in general, it's a really sort of straightforward process. Claire, I'll be putting out some information following the meeting as well. So I'll send some links on that. Another thing was around legacy giving, which can be a difficult subject, I think, but the person who presented it was really, really articulate and a good presenter as well. So it's talking about encouraging people to think about leaving a legacy when they pass away to a charity that they want to support. And some of the ideas were around sort of keeping that information going as you link in with your sort of network of regular givers and supporters, to say that, did you know, kind of, if you could give us 1% sort of thing in your will, and you given to a charity in a will is as simple as sort of naming the charity and giving the charity number, and then that would sort of process an amount to be gave to that charity. So I'll definitely put out some information on that too, if people want to think about that as an option. And then there was some sort of ingenious things. There was virtual fairs, which we all know we're kind of being part of a lot of virtual events ourselves over the past year, but people really going for it were like summer fairs where they were like posting out videos on particular activities, coconut shies, donkey rides, you name it, and people were able to get involved virtually. And even sort of localized organizations, there was one called Autism Together, which I think actually are national, but they're based at the Wirral. They were able to have a greater reach because of their virtual that they wouldn't always have all the time. So sort of don't let go of that virtual reach that you've got as we're coming back to a kind of physical present. Keep that up as much as you can, and keep on communicating with the people who might sort of not live or regular sort of visit your organisation, but are still supporters from a distance. And a few other ideas were around eBay shops. People have kind of been turning to sort of really focusing on that. So if they're getting donations and things like that, you like really taking that time out to sort of populate their eBay shops and other selling platforms. And then there's the Amazon Wishlist, which I thought was incredible. And well, I think I have heard of it before, but actually hearing someone describing what they're doing with it. So as a person, you can kind of create a wish list on Amazon, and you can invite your friends, say, I don't know, you get married and there's things that you want, you don't want like 10 toasters. So you put your wish list together, you send out a link, and people can pick something off that wish list to buy you. And actually I bought somebody who is a sewer in America who recently was made homeless. She moved into a caravan and she was making all cozy for herself, and she put a wish list out to her followers of like, this is like, can you help me make my caravan cozy? Because, you know, she'd been through some life events herself, and like we all contributed little bits towards her wish list to help her sort of kit out a new home. Now you can do that as a charity. You can go through Amazon Smile, which is kind of a donating platform for charities, and you can set up your own wish list. So if there's actual physical things out there, like you need 10 packs of colouring pens for your young people to use, then you don't necessarily you could put that into a wish list and share that with your supporters. So please do go and sort of have a look at that and some of the things I've mentioned there, and I will put some information out following this too. And then just a quick mention of the Community Lens Audit, or Index, as it's so good it's called 2 different names. We put this out the other day, and it is on behalf of an organisation called Social First Aid. They've been working alongside Hartlepool Borough Council, specifically around health and social care, and kind of helping people have a different view of what that means and how people can be supported within their own networks, their own communities, as a priority, as the first part of call, before using the more sort of professionalised services and things like that. And I suppose it's a little bit of a change of mindset, because, you know, some sort of statutory services and that have kind of had that sort of mindset for a number of years, and it's kind of gone through processes thinking about people's safety as being sort of priority, and taking away some of that those sort of community support ideas. So there's a survey that's went out amongst the population of Hartlepool Borough Council workforce, and now they've expanded that to the VCS, because what they did recognise is sort of really key people and assets coming to the forefront of, like, who do you see as a community supporter or a source of community information, and people are naming sort of just random people's hairdressers, so and so in the corner shop, and things like that. So that all of that sort of community intelligence is kind of coming to the forefront. So if you could look at the link and explore the survey, I mean, we have mentioned on there it is a 45 minute survey. You can save and go back to it, and it's not a hierarchical thing at all. I can't pronounce things, sorry. So it's talking about sort of leaders of organisations, staff members, but also casual volunteers and people who just do things in the community too. We want ideas as much as possible. And Raj is a really sort of, he's devised the survey. He's from the third sector himself, and, you know, he's got hopefully plans on really identifying those key sort of those assets, those great resources, and kind of encouraging us all to use them a little bit more. So please do look at that if you've received it already, and we'll put another link out in a days, and it's got till, I think, around about the end of the month to complete the survey. There's a little bit of giving there, obviously. So let people know if you can. And that's it from me, and I think we're going to go around the group now. Oh, that's nice and easy for us, isn't it?
Teresa.
Teresa, you're up first.
What am I saying? What's the question?
Whatever you want.
You were going to talk about politics.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Dangerously, but not dangerous.
not party politics. So I've written breed. It'll be democracy. Yeah. And advocacy and leadership. Yeah. So about a year ago, I met Anya from Just Fair, and I've done quite a bit of work with her, and she's left now though, Just Fair, but I'm still in touch with her. But they've said that we can deliver the packs and do some Zoom sessions. Yeah. So it's Talk Act Change, which is an advocacy guide, and it's Talk Act Change, but use your rights to make your voice heard. And we talk about the role of a councillor, and if people want to become councillors, we'll invite them to do the workshops, but we'll invite anybody really. The history behind it was 3 years ago we done a Do Politics or Politics Will Do You campaign, with some hustings, and it was quite successful, and we managed to raise the vote because the last all-out local elections, only 17% of Hartlepool voted, which means basically if you stand, you're going to go in. Yeah. And I don't think anyone is doing well, not many people are doing politics anymore. So we want to encourage them to read about who's standing in their community, find out a bit more, work out how you ask a question, yeah, and understand that they work for you, actually. And that's a role. It's not a paid job. They're not paid to do that. It's a role, yeah. And see if we can put some power back into local people's hands. So that's what we're going to be doing through Zoom, and I'll share the links as and when. And I think we'll have a meet the candidates through Zoom as well.
Brilliant.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Teresa. Is there anything else you want to mention, or are you happy with that for now?
I'm unusually warm, which is strange. We've had the heating fixed. We've been froze for 6 months, so I'm like...
Same thing for us. That's unusual. We've been belting out.
I'm going to have to take a layer off.
Well, while you do that, Teresa, just send your video off, not on your truck. And we're going to move on to Sarah from Carers now.
I forgot to say something as well. We managed to get all the funding in from the Barring Foundation, which is a group of social justice solicitors down London, as well as Dyke House Big Local, and as well as postcode lottery to do the exclusion project.
Oh, brilliant.
Excellent.
When are you going to bring that to the next sector connector then, Teresa, and talk a bit more about it?
I can, but it'll take an hour and a half.
Okay, well, if you can condense that into about 2.5 minutes, that'll be brilliant, Teresa.
Can I have 5?
Of course, of course. It's really exciting work. This is social justice work at its best.
It's the first one in the country as well. Hartlepool's the first place to do it.
Yeah.
I'm glad you said me, because I have to leave in a little bit, so I'm glad I've come up. I have to go and record Talking Tuesday, so I'm just going to waffle because I'm still really tired and I don't really know what I'm saying. I haven't recovered from the weekend yet. Obviously, what we did over the weekend was we did our UC25 challenge to raise money for the respite caravan for our young carers. So we've raised just short of £2,000 from the weekend. The target is 50,000, and I think we're just over 30,000 in total now. If any organisations want to get involved to help us, we are fundraising until the 2nd of April. And all the challenges have to be around the number 25, because that's how many hours young carers spend on average in their caring role. So if anyone wants to get involved or want any more information on that, fantastic. I'm still recording my Talking Tuesdays, so if anyone wants to take part in one of those, give me a shout. I think I've got the social prescribers going to be coming up shortly. Dawn, I think you've been volunteered for that. I don't know if you know that or not, because you're apparently the loudest. And our other big thing that's coming up is the 16th of March is Young Carers Action Day. This has changed. It used to be Young Carers Awareness Day, which was in January, but it's changed to a day of action, because it's all very well being aware, but we need people to actually take action and do things about it. So we've got lots of activities planned for that. And obviously it's just about getting the message out about what a young carer is, how schools, colleges, families can support. And this year's theme is all around protecting young carers' futures. So it's all about sort of making sure that they don't sort of just fall into that caring role and don't have the opportunity to go to college, go to university, get the job. And it's also about making employers aware that the skills that they've actually got from being a young carer, they're actually really, really well skilled, and a lot more skilled than a lot of their peers. So we're recording some videos with some of our young carers, which are going to go out. And we've got a Talking Tuesday with Danielle from the council about what a young carer is and how colleges, schools, businesses can get involved. So that's our next big push. So that's the 16th of March. And otherwise, services are just running as normal. We are still supporting via Zoom, still taking registrations. So if you know anyone if anyone pops up in your daily life who is a carer of any age, just give us a shout.
Brilliant.
Thank you very much, Sarah, and good luck because it's clip launch talk about day, I believe. So we'll pinch that and put it into the notes on a separate video, if that's okay.
Well, it was, I thought it was going to be clip, but then I think Michael's sort of going around incontrollable now. But I'm going to make sure he does mention clip as well.
All right.
But I'm gonna rope that in.
Okay, well I'll give it a watch when you'll post it today, won't you? Is it a live one?
Yeah,
then?
we're actually going live today. So if anyone's got any questions they want to ask during that, they can do, and I just hope that the technology copes with it.
I'm sure you'll be fab.
And just in case people are thinking, what the Dickens is clip?
Oh yes.
That do you want to say, Sarah?
Oh no.
Okay, I'll say. Okay, so it's the Community-Led Inclusion Partnership. It is a coalition of organisations who work with people with disabilities, sensory loss, and so on. They were successful in a community pot bid and are going to be employing a CLIP worker. And the role is really to ramp up action on helping the conditions of our community to be much more responsive to the needs of people who are labelled as having disabilities. So obviously I'm trying to suggest the social model of disability, which is centre stage to CLIP's work, and kind of watch their space for how this town responds and becomes more inclusive, so that all sections of the community are as able as any other to access opportunities and activities.
Yeah, just to add to that, there is a job role as well, which is being put out. If that's might be of interest to anyone that you might know, there is a job role become available within CLIP, and also carers are going to have some roles coming up as well. So that's worth keeping an eye out for too.
Brilliant.
The link to that is in the invite for today for the job and the new website. And if you want us to sort of spread the word on the new roles of carers, Sarah, just pop them over and we'll make.
Yeah, as soon as they're out, I will do. Thanks, Julie.
Hi, Wen.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Very well.
Oh, okay. I'll just talk about the leisure centre. I want to say something. Because during the COVID-19, they got seven young people killed themselves in Middlesbrough, just my relative. So I think they should value their life. Compared with dog and cats, being the human being is very good. So I think like a leisure center, they could make it more relaxed, just put what I say there, more relaxed. When the people feel how happy they are, they will not take their life off. So they will not do something bad. They want to long live forever. So do better. So this one, I said, if I can put a little bit Oriental's wisdom there. So then also I see, our group has cooperate, working together with Men's Shed. Behind the Men's Shed, we're going to input some our gardening skill, and we want to make it full of flowers and then do some succulents. So in the future, if the leisure center is possible, we can exhibition, hold an exhibition for the succulents and the flowers. I wish the Hartlepool will be like Harrogate, has a flower, exhibition. So this is our aim. I wish everyone can put in as well. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Wen.
Thank you.
I think they are going to have a space where they have events and things like that connected to it. So hopefully your wish will come true. And it's lovely to hear that you've found some some
Space.
collaborative space with the men's shed as well to share, because I'm imagining what that looks like now. They have got a little bit of an outdoor section, haven't there? And if that can be, some love can be brought to that, and yeah,
Yeah,
that's brilliant.
Yeah,
And
when you
hopefully the
do-
leisure centre
yeah.
sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun as the number one priority, or like that's what I was bringing to the table anyway. We want slides for people to enjoy, so fingers crossed.
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks ever so
Who we're on to? Roz, I believe, is next. Where's she gone? There she is.
Hi.
Hello.
Right, I'll let John update you with the link worker role. Can I just make a shout out for Linfield Ladies, a support group? I don't know whether you heard about them, but they used to meet on a Friday at the Linfield Centre, 1 o'clock till 3. And they're hoping to meet back up in June, but they've been running for about 15 years, and they normally meet because they were not really set up because they were isolated. Most of them are widowed, or they're by themselves, so they're very lonely. So they do things like bingo to raise money for themselves, so they can do different activities, like go to weekend trips to go to see a market or things like that. They do dominoes, play cards, and sometimes some people just sit there knitting to just go over a chat. So it's a nice little social group. But unfortunately, Maureen Thomas, who runs the group, or one of the committee members, the lead one, she's got very bad health at the moment. So she's going to go back and say to them that she can't run it anymore. And she's mentioned it before to them, and there's nobody really willing to take the group over. And I just think it'd be such a shame for the group to fall flat sort of thing. So I was just making a shout out, if anyone knows any volunteers would like to support this group, they would be very grateful. I know as link workers we're going to start trying to get patients to go there, some maybe younger ones, because they're all in the 70s, 80s now, where obviously 15 years ago they're a bit younger and could manage a bit more. So really there's just a shout for any support really to help this group, and I'll put Maureen's name in the chat box and a contact number, and she's happy for anyone to get in touch with her if they can support in any way.
You did. I was just quite happily listening along there. I don't know. Well, we've got quite a few things that have just sort of started. We've got a walk and talk group which started 3 weeks ago, which was quite successful. Our last one had 15 members along the headland. It was a bit mixed messages really. We had quite a few members of the public complaining about it because we were because just the fact we were out. We had a lot of negative feedback on Facebook. Even though we're just exercising, the households were staying together. They were all staged like further apart, and there was a group ahead and a group in the middle and a group behind. But still, we got a lot of negative feedback on Facebook, which was very detrimental. Considering they're just exercising, they weren't. Every little huddle was to each household as well. So I don't understand it, and we kind of stood up to a little bit, but people are still quite wary, aren't they? So we had the headland last week. So we need to go a little bit further afield and somewhere quieter, but we're not allowed to travel. So we got the minibus, which was a fantastic addition to us. So we allowed people that don't drive to go for a walk as well. A lot of the people that we're seeing are staying in their doors quite a lot, staying with their own little family, and they're not getting out, so it's causing a lot of negative effect on their mental health. So it's nice and easy for us to sort of pick people up on a little half-an-hour route in the morning and then take them somewhere different. Even if the people that live sort of like house area don't go to the headland as much as they can, even though the store's throw away. So even that was just enlightening for a few people. The weather was fantastic. We did a bit of sea swimming as well, which was crazy. Yeah, so there's a few things. I mean, we've paired up with the Hartlepool ice swimmers as well. So that's a new thing for us. Quite scary. If you haven't tried it, I wouldn't recommend it.
No.
Did you say you wouldn't recommend it?
No, he did say that.
Yeah, there's mixed groups. I mean, there's lads there that are 18-year-old. There's a few kids do it as well, which clearly they have a lot more, they're a lot sturdier than we are. And up to, I think the oldest man there is 74 years old, and he's been doing it for about 10 years. So it's a new thing for us. There's just a lot of activities kind of creeping up that we didn't originally engage in. And there's a lot of people out there doing a lot of stuff to get people together. And it's only kind of just starting to come to light at the end of the lockdown period for us. And these guys have been doing it for the last year or so.
Yeah. One of our trustees is one of those ice swimmers.
Is he?
Yeah, Paul. He comes in and says, "Yeah, I've just warmed up." About 2 hours later.
It's great for 7 minutes in the sea. It took me an hour and a half to warm up properly. But, it's brilliant. I mean, there's a lot of people out there doing a lot of active stuff. We can kind of we can bat off the negative feedback a little bit because we're doing it for the right purposes. We're not all just congregating together just for a chat. It's improving people, and the negative feedback is it's fine. People are entitled to their opinion and they can say what they want. But at the end of the day, I'd rather people were out there doing something and exercising than sat in the house. I mean, the Zoom calls, as you said before, it's brilliant, but when they're an hour a day just talking to people, it's not enough. People need social engagement, so we'll do everything we can to encourage that. So we've paired it with the ice swimmers. We've got a few gardening projects going on at the moment to improve some open spaces and personal spaces for people, and it's just nice. I mean, we've snowballed. I mean, you guys know from when we started how small it was to we've got 75 people in our books now who need either one-on-one care or need the group sessions in various formats. I mean, the Annexe hosts 2 support groups for males and females throughout the week. They're still ongoing, and we have to the point now we have to turn people away or access another room upstairs because it's getting more than the 15 capacity. So there's 15 of us and 2 trustees at the minute, but now it's looking like 18 to 20 people, and we have to book in one-to-ones with people to kind of refer them back to us. But it's good. We're having a few conversations over Zoom during the day with myself and the trustees, kind of checking in on people. But mainly it's about just making sure everything's okay. Everyone's okay, and people are starting to get out a little bit more than they were before. Kind of get over the stigma that they're not allowed out, which I don't think a lot of people know the rules still, and a lot of people kind of just hide away from it, and it's not very good for anyone's mental health. So we're doing all we can to get people out there, at least anyway.
And just to make it crystal clear, in case anyone hasn't sort of picked up from what Martin's been saying, that Minds for Men, formerly known as Stags, is a charity working to combat mental emotional distress, particularly around men, but having a very close relationship with the Wellness for Women project, which is, as the name suggests, around supporting women. So in tandem, full community coverage.
Yeah. Now, age range is from 18, but we have no upper limit. So we have quite a few gentlemen at the minute, probably ladies as well, but obviously Dawn deals with that a lot more than I do. But a few gentlemen at least who have been isolating and been scared and watched the news and haven't moved. So we've had a few one-to-ones on doorsteps, a few chairs in gardens, kind of chatting through the window, which have led to them being engaged in the group and then coming out on the walks with us. So it's nice to, even if it's one at a time, just kind of coax some people out the shell a little bit, ready for when the country officially opens. Which is nice to see people kind of getting more and more engaged. It is happening. It is more positive, and the changes are happening. But we just need to encourage it a little bit more.
Brilliant. Thanks ever so much, Martin.
No Claire, do you want to bring in something quickly before you go? Have you got time?
Yeah. I don't know what to say really. Just we've been doing what we normally do for the past year, as well as working with Hartlepower. We've done a lot of fuel help along with.
Say who you are first, Claire.
Oh, sorry, I'm Claire from Advice at Hart. Sorry. Right, so yeah, we've been working a lot with Hartlepower with the fuel vouchers and things like that, which we're still giving out and giving to people. We get a lot of repeat people coming through, trying to abuse it, but we're trying to wade through the people who are just who are actually in a crisis and stuff like that. So we're taking national insurance numbers now, as well as just taking their basic info, and a lot of them don't want to give that over. So then we're like, right, well, you may not actually be in a crisis. So we're trying to wade through that. I know it's unfortunate, but we are still working with the food bank, getting food delivered to people, as well as doing our normal duties of benefit advice work. I've got about 60 appeals on my board at the moment. I had 4 last week, I had 2 yesterday. You know, there's a lot of people being sanctioned with benefits and struggling. So I mean, if you know anybody who probably needs that support, a lot of people with mental health find it really hard to deal with in the paperwork. So just, you know, refer them over to us. We can take them along, hold the hand, and sit in with them for the hearings. At the moment, it's all oral hearings over the phone. But in the next couple of months, I think the courts may be back open, so then they'll want people going to the courtrooms with them, which is what I do as well. And we're also working with Hartlepool Borough Council with the admin bridge role with the groups that have got ESF funding, helping them with their paperwork to make sure it's filled in properly. And we're also quite successful with the community part as well. So we're hoping to get back out in the community, we can get back into Bearbank and the churches and stuff like that, and help the people who need it and get the right network for them. So that's my goal with that.
Fantastic.
The client that you referred to me is on her way to getting out of debt.
Oh, fabulous. Yeah, I mean, it's good that we can work together.
Absolutely.
And like cross people between, because I mean, multiple debts isn't what we do. So
that's right.
As long as we've got someone to refer to. Oh, lovely,
Brilliant.
Violet. Thank
you.
All right,
thanks,
right.
Claire.
I'll see you all
Much
soon.
appreciated.
I'll put my details on here.
Thank you, Claire.
All right, thank you. Bye-bye.
On that note, next up, we've got Violet.
Well, I'm from Christians Against Poverty, which is CAP. And I love referrals from people. Basically, I think everybody knows me. And I will give you good news that one of our clients will be debt-free in 3 months' time, and that will be going into the press. He's agreed to that, which is wonderful. So the reason that I come on here is to link up, to see what's available, because we look at the people that are referred to us as whole people. And so I'm taking on what Wen is saying, and I know about the men's club. You mentioned the food council and reaching all the children in Hartlepool. I have several families who are anxious about the holidays and anxious about food. Will those children be picked up in the schools?
They ought to be, and certainly if they're in receipt of free school meals, they very much ought to be. Yeah, that's exactly who it's designed for, Violet.
That's brilliant. That's okay. I don't need to do anything then. They'll be contacted.
No,
brilliant.
no.
Thank you. That's it. And another thing is that I'm trying to raise awareness of for a debt relief order, the maximum debt is 20,000. But a lot of people are coming on now with bigger debt from the recession. After 20,000, it goes into bankruptcy. Head office is fighting, and we're fighting to raise that limit to 50,000. So it'll save people from being, going in down the bankruptcy route. So we're writing to our MPs. So if anybody wants to write to their MP, I can give you the letter, and you can sign it on your behalf. And because it's going to central government to try and raise the limit.
Can you send us a link to to where that is, or the information, I'll Violet, and we'll share it?
What I'll do is I'll send you the letter.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I can link right in through CAP to the MP, but the letter is done. I'll send that letter to you, which would be brilliant. That's lovely. Thank you.
Thanks, Violet.
Well, the big thing that we've got, well, I suppose all of us really, is tomorrow is the budget. Rishi Sunak's coming out with his little suitcase to tell us if the universal credit £20 a week is going to be maintained and how long for. Hopefully it just becomes part of the benefit as a whole, but if they're going to put a time frame on it, then we're hoping that it's 12 months and not 6, but that's, yeah, by the by. Sort of on Friday, we're going to be getting people together, and I think we've already sent invites out if anyone else wants to be involved, in mapping the services that are available for women in vulnerable situations in town, because we know there's quite a lot of sex work that's been hidden by it not being addressed as sex work, and there's a lot of women who are sort of paying for rent with sexual favours, or there's a lot of women who are being addictions are being, their addiction to substance is being abused by others, whereas they're being given drugs in exchange for sexual favours. And as far as we can tell, there isn't a lot of sort of social housing schemes that are particularly targeted for women. So there's Harbour, but they always tend to be really sort of filled up with their outreach and the properties that they have available. So we're looking to just map out what's available. So with like anyone who wants to be involved, but we've got people from probation and things like that who are coming in who sort of have regular contact with the women that we know of, and it's coming from one of the people that we've been supporting for years now, passing away recently, and she'd been living that way, you know, sexual favors for rent, and it's out of sight, out of mind, unfortunately. And the police are in a difficult situation where obviously the women who are living this way don't report that to the police because it's kind of biting the hand that feeds them. So they won't report it as a crime. They don't report themselves as being in a relationship per se. So there's such a grey area in the legislation that's in place that we're going to look to see if we can explore that, as well as sort of map out the support networks that are available for the women living that way, and to see if we can put some sort of strategic interventions in place where we can do a little bit more awareness and share a little bit more information to hopefully catch more people before, you know, we get to the point where people are dying. And we had a conversation with someone who was quite highly ranked up in the town, and I won't say who it is, but their language was that, you know, this kind of thing is inevitable in this situation, and that just isn't good for us to be saying that people dying is inevitable. So that's something that we're going to be working on. And the other thing is the Get Connected stuff. So we've been exploring yesterday and talking about innovative ways that we can use technology in service delivery. So we're looking at the use of smart speakers and how we can use smart technology such as Alexas and things like that to, you know, have people whose independence is compromised by whatever issues, you know, and it means a great deal to someone who might be chair-bound or, you know, living in a difficult situation where they require support from other people. And just for them to be able to have that little bit of independence back of turning on their own TV, turning on their own lights is something that we're going to explore with the Get Connected project, which is obviously run through Hartlepower and has been successful in the bid to get more people connected to broadband and with the tools and skills that they need. I think that's it from us.
That's it.
Darren,
oh, sorry, Violet.
Can I just say, Darren, that we're also fighting to get the £20 to remain as constant, not to be just for over the COVID period, plus the car allowance from 1,000, trying to raise it up to 2,000 for people with disabilities. So we're working around all of those areas. But I would love the contact of the person who's working with the women in the sex. We have a house in North Cyprus, and the sex trade is terrible there, and there's no, the women are actually living in houses, and they've got railings. It's like a prison, and they can't go out. And we've got a couple there living in the house who's heavily involved in that, and I'd love to meet up with them because it's scandalous, and just anything I could do to help, I'd be more than happy.
I'll send an invite over, Violet, to the meeting on Friday if you're available. I mean, we're looking at it from probation, we're looking at it from the police, but we're just looking at it from also like as a social model of where we can put interventions in place, because there's people there's women who are dying now who are in this situation who don't identify as being a sex worker, or, you know, don't fully understand the support networks that are available to them, so they just feel kind of like trapped and fatalistic.
And I mean, are they protected or anything at all like that, you know? So I would be very happy to join the meeting. I really would. Great. Okay, love, thank you.
Thank you very much, all. My point was not as poignant as what Violet's was. It was around technology, really, and that the interest would be is it's hard, isn't it, that those new smart devices are actually quite complex to kind of set up. So, but I can see where the benefits could be for people. So maybe thinking about some intensive support to get people kind of set up in a smart house. I know I was listening to a guy who was, well, actually it was Andrew yesterday, wasn't it, talking about his curtains opening at dusk and dawn. I was like, I can't even get my Google Home to sync with the telly. Never mind get my curtains to open. And it's become a bit more of a challenge, and a bit like, you know what, I'm not even going to cast this thing from here to here. So to see it working at its best, or how that would be incredible, wouldn't it? Especially for where it's going to really enhance people's lives who need it too.
There's still a lot of stigma as well, isn't there? There's still the tin hat brigade who think that the CIA are listening to your conversations and they want to know what you have for breakfast. And
well, everyone's listening anyway, so once you're doing this sort of thing, it's not even the CIA, it's big companies. So it's kind of the price we pay in a way. I know that's not meant to be depressing. But it's been brilliant. What a great meeting. It's been really good. Really good.
As usual, I mean, the amount of activity going on in Hartlepool from multiple different sources is just incredible. And for us, one of the biggest challenges is the Sector Connector is a start in that people can hear about this who choose to come along. And if they're not made to go on last when, you know, half the people have gone, which is such a shame for Darren and Violet's amazing work. But the challenge is, how do we enrich connections between people so that more people get more of an idea of what is out there in this incredible town? I mean, we are working on it. Darren and Julie particularly are working on it, but that's one of the many challenges that we have as a sector to better connect. And it's great that the social prescribers have been with us on this journey from the outset, because as we've always said, you have such a crucial role to play given your reach and your role within the NHS. So it's so optimistic, and it's, you know, it's humbling to be part of it. So thanks everyone.
Thank you. And if you're watching this now and you're interested in any of the organisations that you've heard about today, or you think, wow, we could really do something amazing together, then just get in touch with us, or there'll be emails featured on the video anyway. And hopefully in true sort of Sector Connector style, the relationships will be continued to make as we kind of share it on other platforms too.
And Julie, I would look at hiring a hall as soon as we can to have coffee.
That'd be great.
Honestly,
I forgot we could do stuff like that, Violet. It's a brilliant idea. It hadn't even occurred to me.
If it's 15 people, 30 people, and you just put in the measures, and then we can sit round, because we are working and we can do that. Whenever the government allow us, and I think that would build huge bridges.
Yeah, I agree.
Let's work towards that, Violet.
Absolutely.
We'll acknowledge Violet as being the source of one of the most obvious suggestions that we've kind of forgotten about.
Great to see everybody, and see you in a few weeks.
2 weeks.
Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.